What's up? This is the last one. The fourth of the 4 videos for Festival Flows. This one's Coachella Calm. So this sequence can be done at the very end of the day, the night. I mean, it might be into the next day, knowing how festivals go. But basically, when you have finished the concerts, when you finished your after parties, you're ready to go to bed, even if that's going to just be for a few hours. This sequence will help reset your body, reset your spine, so that you have a more restful sleep. And we all know that rest is a huge part of feeling good as well. So start here on your belly. So coming down onto the floor, and we'll start in Sphinx pose, which is what we call Snoop Lion. Shout out to the dog father. In Sphinx pose, your forearms are on the ground, rather than, if you remember, baby cobra, you're down here. So the difference is you're up on the forearms, grip the mat a little bit, activate your legs as well so that you're taking tension out of the low back. So that means press your toenails down, lift your kneecaps, and then do a little active pull here. So it's like I'm doing this with my arms, but nothing moves. So drag your heart forward and up. Think of lifting through the top of your head, but also reaching back with the feet. And you want to feel extension and length in the spine, not compression or crunching. So that's why it's important to do that. Pull forward and up. And if your hip flexors, the front of your hips are a little tight, this little movement here is great to find a little tightness on each side. That can also get into the psoas, the deep ab muscles there. Also hip flexors, right? So little side to side, and maybe stay on one side if that feels good. Stay on the other side. And then in between, I would do, 5 to 10 breaths there. Option, if you happen to have like couch pillows or a bolster like this, you could slide that under your chest, make sure the bony parts of the hips are still in the ground, and then you can let your head come down there or on yet another pillow. If you have all that support, you could stay for minutes at a time, like 5 to 10 minutes, just letting everything melt. You don't have to activate. If you don't have the support, then you activate the muscles of the legs and that little drag muscle to support yourself, right? And do maybe like 10 breaths there. One breath would be an inhale and an exhale, so 10 sets of breath, right? And then come down and just reset, bend your knees, windshield wiper. That's a really great reset for the spine there. Do that a few times. Then push back to knees, come into half dead pigeon, or that's what we call it, half pigeon, right? So right knee, I'll do right knee forward, and work your left leg back. So depending on how flexible you are in the hips, this right foot might go forward a little more. There's no exact place it should be, so just know that. You may see pictures where somebody's foot is out here. They're extremely open in their hips already. It can be back here, what I'm doing. The more important part of this is that your hips are level, right? I'm not slumped over here. Level out the hips, reach through the toes of the back leg. Your back toes can be pointed. It's a little easier on the knee, or tuck them. It's a little more stretch on the hip flexor. So that's an option there. You can also go back to using your couch pillows or whatever you have under your upper body, and then you can rest a little more, 5 to 10 minutes, on each side. But we're going to do something in between the sides here, which I like to do. So let's say, 5 to 10 minutes on this side. And then if you don't have those couch pillows, you can just come down, head on your fists, or all the way down if that feels okay. If this pigeon pose does not feel good on your body, you can always bend both knees. It's called stag pose, and we call it Jägermeister because that's what's on the bottle of Jägermeister, right? The difference with stag and pigeon is both knees are bending in stag. Pigeon, back leg is straight. Other difference, roll in your right hip in stag, hips level, most likely lifted in pigeon, right? So if you're in stag pose, You can, again, use the couch pillows, or you can just lie over your right thigh, stack your hands again. So that's an option that's not so hard on the knees. So choose that option. There are other options for these stretches. If you know those, you could do those, but I'm just going to limit it to 2 right now. After you do that, if you're in pigeon and you want a little more quad stretch, you can come to a king pigeon, or call a little quad stretch. We call it the French barmaid. So your right fingertips are in front of you. You take the left arm, the same arm, same leg, grab that foot. And because you've been active all day, or if you've been active for a while, you could do a little passive stretch, just bringing your foot towards you, or you can kick the foot back for that facilitated stretch. If you're doing stag, and so that hurts your knee, all you have to do is lie down onto your side, right, and do the same thing. Left hand on left foot, knees toward each other. This is just like we did standing in the Coachella Cure, and you kick your foot into the hand, or just find a little passive stretch. Passive means you're not doing the resistance. Okay, so that's that. Before we go to the other side, roll to your right hip, spin your legs around, lean back, windshield wiper. I love these windshield wipers at any place, right? Lying on the back, lying on your belly, sitting up. It just always feels really good. So play with that. It's also massaging your glutes, which is great. Then once you do the windshield wipers, you spin the right leg around and do your half pigeon or your stag on this side. Again, if you're supported with the pillows, you can do minutes at a time, 5 to 10 minutes, let everything melt into it. If you're not supported, activate a little bit, like reaching your toes back, find some length in the spine. You can even squeeze your thighs towards each other and take, 5 to 10 breaths there. I'd say 5 minimum. And then once you're finished that, you can do that quad stretch on this side or on your side here. Yep, so that's that quad stretch. Nice. And then for the final phase of your Coachella Calm, you'll roll onto your back. And let's see, I had a couple other things listed on the back. Actually, no sitting, so my bad. Come to sitting. So after you finish your left side quad stretch, sit up. All right. And these are really good stretches, again, to have something under your knees. So I'm going to use blocks. You could use bolster if you had it, or those couch pillows again. I'll do the opposite leg so you can see what I'm doing. So you're going to do right leg bending, and that right foot's pretty close into your other leg, your straight leg. If your knee's way up here, your right leg, put couch pillows, something, books, support it with that block or whatever you've got, because it's going to make the calf or the hip want to relax, because it feels like, oh, this is the floor. I'm being supported, right? And then, especially if you have tight hamstrings, slide a block under the straight leg knee, yeah? And then that feels so comfortable. I could sit up, I can lengthen my spine, and then you take hands behind you, lift the heart up, find a straight spine first, I would recommend, especially if you have tight hamstrings and a sore back. Lengthen the spine up, and then take that length forward. So I'm lengthening my heart towards the straight leg. Activate the straight leg, so you're flexing that foot. You may feel a little bit in the low back, a good stretch, but you're protected here with these things under your legs, right? Lengthening the spine. Then once you do that for about 5 to 7 breaths, you could, if it feels all right, start to round and fold and get a little deeper stretch all along the spine, right? So I would recommend, especially in these longer held stretches, going just 70%, because once you go 70%, you have an idea of whether your body's ready for it, and you can back off if it's not. If it starts to hurt at 70%, guarantee it's going to be painful, almost injury at 100%. But if you start at 100%, you have nowhere to go but injury, right? So start, think 70% and let your breath kind of soften you into it. If it starts to feel better, then you can go a little deeper. If it's painful, you come out of it straight away without getting to that injury zone, all right? And then switch legs, right? This is called Janushirshasana. We call it LL Cool J because you're making this L shape with the legs, right? And just popping it up like that. It's a little more of a combo than just straight leg forward fold, but you could also do that after it. It's a good prep for that. You could do both blocks under both knees, but keep the hands behind the back so you have this lengthening spine first. After a few breaths, if that feels okay, come forward there, right? And then that's it. You could come back onto your back and rest for a moment. Another great thing to do before rest, that same robot reset, right? Push into the heels, push into elbows and shoulders, up and down, just tap, tap, tap. And I'm already feeling a reset in my spine after that forward fold so that my spine is in a great alignment to support me as I sleep. Boom. Into your rest. Ready to get after it another day of festivals. Cool.